If you're new to Fallout 76 and you have some caps but don't know exactly what to spend them on, it's okay. No one actually explains any of this to you. A lot of players waste thousands of caps on things that look good in a vendor screen but barely help their build. In this video, I'll break down what items and guns are actually worth buying from player vendors, what players really spend caps on, and how new players should be using caps efficiently. Let's start with what new players should be looking for in player vendors, because not everything in them is a waste. The goal isn't to avoid saving caps, but to spend them with your build or your camp in mind. First, keep an eye out for 3-star legendary weapons or armor pieces that actually support your build. 3 stars doesn't automatically mean good, but sometimes a player might have something that genuinely upgrades your damage or build. Right now, the armor meta is changing in the game, so I won't talk too much about that, but look for guns that are known to help out with certain builds, like the weapon the Elder's Mark SMG, which is right now one of the best weapons for different builds. This gun works extremely well in Bloodied builds, VATS builds, and Commando builds, so players are trying to get their hands on a decent roll for this gun. For a base 3-star, you don't want to spend any more than around 4,000 caps. If you can get your hands on a decent roll depending on your build and what you're looking for, you can expect to spend anywhere from 5,000 to 9,000 caps. But if you're looking for a god roll on the Elder's Mark with anti-armor, 25% faster fire rate, and 25% less VATS action point cost, that can go anywhere from around 10,000 to 20,000 caps. So if you can snag one cheaper than that, you definitely should. Another gun to keep an eye out for, depending on your build, would be the Fixer. It's a great high-range gun, and it's favored for VATS crit builds. Most players use this gun in stealth and commando builds, but overall, it's a good weapon. For a base 3-star Fixer, you can expect to pick one up for around 1,000 to 3,000 caps, but for a really solid build with Bloodied anti-armor and fast fire, you can expect to spend anywhere from 6,000 to over 10,000 caps. But if you keep server hopping, I'm sure you can find one cheaper. A great heavy gun to keep an eye out for is the Holy Fire. It's a great close-range flamethrower that can work great with good rolls. You can pick up a decent 3-star one for somewhere around 3 to 5,000 caps depending on the server, but a god roll, which would be Bloodied, 25 faster fire rate, and 15% faster reload, could go anywhere from 7,000 to 12,000 caps. These weapons, of course, depend on what build you're working towards, and there's many other weapons in the game to look out for as well, like the minigun, Gatling plasma, handmade rifle, enclave plasma weapons, and many others. It all really just depends on the perks, so just keep an eye out for a good purchase worth the caps. Now let's talk about what not to buy from player vendors, because this is where most newer lower level players lose thousands of caps. The first thing not to buy is random 3-star weapons with bad rolls. Just because it's a 3-star legendary doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. A weapon with no damage multiplier, no fire rate bonus, no VATS synergy, and no armor penetration, you're basically just going to break it down for script. A lot of vendors list 3 stars anywhere from 2,000 to 10,000, even if they aren't good rolls. And players who don't know what they're looking at think 3 stars must mean that it's good. No. Most 3-star weapons are worth 1,000 to 3,000 caps max, unless the effects are actually meta. And if it doesn't support your build, don't buy it. The second thing not to buy is overpriced armor, especially early game. Right now, the armor meta is shifting, Bethesda is changing how things work. But here's a rule for new players. If you're under level 100 and still figuring out your build, do not spend 10,000 caps on random pieces of armor. There are many different armor pieces out there, and you're better off spending caps on weapons first. Armor optimization should come later. The third thing not to spend caps on is camp decorations early game. This is a huge cap trap. Players see cool neon signs, plushies, rare event plans, and vendors, and spend 5,000 caps on something cosmetic. If your build still struggles in events and you're dying a lot, cosmetic items should not be a priority. You're better off saving those caps and putting them towards your build. The fourth and final thing is armor and aid from vendors. Unless you're desperate, player vendors almost always overcharge for fuel, 5.56, 45, and stim packs. You can farm these or craft these or get them from events. Do not drain your caps on consumables. Instead of thinking, I have a lot of caps, what should I buy? Start thinking in the mindset of, okay, what does my build need right now to be better? If it isn't more damage, more survivability, better VATS cost, or armor penetration, then skip it for right now. Now that I've explained what not to waste your caps on, let's talk about how to actually make them consistently. The first thing you can do is public events, but prioritize the right ones. Public events are the backbone of early cap income, but not all public events are equal. Focus on events that drop multiple legendary enemies, have high player participation, and give treasury notes and legendary cores. Events that include these would be Radiation Rumble, Eviction Notice, Moonshine Jamboree, and Beast of Burden. But you're not just doing these events for caps, but you're actually farming legendary gear to scrip or sell, ammo, aid items, and plans, which can all convert into caps. The second thing to take advantage of is to sell to robot vendors every day. Most new players ignore this. Every day, robot vendors share a 1400 cap pool. Hit that limit every day. Sell extra chems, grenades, junk food items, and weapons that you don't need. Something that also sells for a lot is purified water, which you can actually pick up at other players' camps. Selling all of these gets you an easy 1400 caps a day. The third thing to make sure to do is sell the right items in your own player vendor. If you want passive income, you need to sell things that players actually want to buy. Good things to sell are cheap 3-star legendaries for anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 caps, popular weapons like Elder's Mark or the Fixer if you get them from events, and rare event plans, flux, decent bloodied anti-armor rolls, and stable crafting materials. Bad things to sell are stuff like overpriced ammo, common plans that everyone already owns, and random junk legendaries for a lot of caps. Another thing to do is to server hop. I couldn't begin to tell you the amount of times I've bought something at a camp and found it cheaper on a different server. And my last bit of advice I have to actually make caps is to stop buying every little thing that you see. If you farm your own ammo, farm or craft your own aid items, and really upgrade only meaningful gear that you use, you'll naturally start to see the amount of caps that you have rise. Before I end this video, I want to leave you with one thing that separates broke players from players sitting at max caps. It's not luck, it's not grinding 12 hours a day, it's discipline. Caps are a resource in early game, they're one of the most important ones to have. Stop thinking of caps as something you spend just because you have them, but think of them as an investment. Ask yourself, is this weapon actually an upgrade? Does this improve my damage? Does this improve my survivability? Does this make my build more efficient? Or am I just buying this because it looks cool? Because here's what happens to most new players. They spend 6,000 caps on a random 3-star weapon. They spend 8,000 caps on an armor piece they'll replace in, maybe a couple game sessions. And then they spend 5,000 caps on a neon sign. And suddenly they're broke, struggling during events, struggling with ammo, and struggling with damage. Meanwhile, smart players are flipping good deals, selling legendaries for script value, hitting the 1400 vendor cap limit daily, saving for god rolls, and when that perfect weapon shows up for 9,000 caps, they're ready. That's really what this game's economy comes down to. Build first, cosmetics later, utility over hype. And if you follow that, you won't just survive the game, but you'll actually control your cap flow instead of letting it control you. If this helped you stop wasting caps and start actually building smarter, drop a like, it really helps the channel out. If you're new around here, I make Fallout 76 guides focused on helping newer players actually understand the game without wasting time or resources, so consider subscribing. And if you found any crazy vendor steals or overpaid for something when you first started, let me know in the comments. I read all of them. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.